This week on the podcast, we wrap up our semester, discuss the joys and pains of teaching synchronously online. Our guest is Phillip Morales, a writer, director, producer, and Tim's cousin. Let's get to it.
We started this podcast, and my kids are with me, so I get to have lunch with them. It's like paradise, man, but you don't get to share it with anybody because you're all sort of in this deserted space, right?
Yeah, we're all in our own little international space stations where nobody can hear you scream or something like that. No, I don't know.
Nope. That's for real, man. That's like the picture in my head, you know. And for those that are out there listening to us, man, just keeping in mind that, hey, we're almost there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I can see the tunnel now.
Right.
But as our mayor was saying last night, you know, now is not the time to let up and just give up, because it's important that, you know, we continue to do what we need to do to stop the spread and all this that's going around. Hey, man, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I hear you though. Just sitting here in front of this computer, trying to get things done, make myself better. My, this semester I was a student on top of a teacher, taking the certificate class to become an instructional design, and so that's coming to a wrap. I empathize with my students because I'm ready for this class to be done and ready to have this certificate and move on. And hopefully move into a new phase of working in higher ed, hopefully becoming an instructional designer, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm happy that you're reporting that. I think it's important to congratulate you on what you've been able to accomplish, you know, in spite of all the doubt in the air, right? All the just in terms of I guess instructor speak that we see in our world, and how to get students to understand that, you know, through their tenacity, through their willingness to just not live in self-doubt or fear, for that matter, but just live in the reality that it's a challenging time, but you can still progress and meet your goals, and so that's one of the things I've learned, man, just by being here every Friday. This is like my golden hour from weeks on in, just had something to look forward to, you know. And I think we learned a bit of that about life, is that we got to put something in front of us to look forward to, but still be able to live in the moment, you know, and know that your work matters, and you know that what you're trying to accomplish at the end of the day is this opportunity to just share and build on knowledge and perspective, right? Because that's what I think a lot of us need at this time, right? We need perspective, right? We need different points of view. And echoing my students yesterday when we closed it out in the Zoom sessions, it was a beautiful thing to hear students say, you know, I never realized how easy it is to put myself out there, and the only thing really standing in my way is me. Wow. Right? Because we've got so many tools now. Yeah. And I said, that's exactly what this course should be about, is the opportunity to show people that they can really do something with themselves. Even if it's starting a podcast, or creating some form of content, or learning how to write a press release or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. My classes were a little rough. I think, teaching media writing for the first time in an all online environment, I think they were done with me. they wanted to just they wanted to be left alone. There were only 10 of them, and so it was hard because they couldn't hide, but they all kind of shut down to the point where I started just referring to them as the gray little boxes in front of me, thinking that would get them to engage, but it didn't work. So I would be I'm humbled by that, and I would be curious to know if there's any other faculty out there listening. How do you deal, especially with smaller classes like that? Because in person, 10 students you could really get some cool stuff done, and I feel like you could do the same thing online. But it was tough because it was the first time teaching that text and teaching that topic, and so it was a little rough. We'll see what comes out of that.
Yeah, it was a lot of first of everything, right?
Yeah, too many firsts.
Yeah, well, it was something I think I saw on Twitter the other day with someone who had mentioned, I think it was the director of media literacy, Michelle Lumpkin. She said, I just passed through my daughter's room and she overheard the Spanish teacher say, there's only 90 of us, so let's go ahead and wait for some more.
Oh my God.
In the Zoom session, man.
Yeah.
And she said something to the effect of, this is just an impossible feat, right, for the instructor and the students. How do you do that with 90 plus students? And I think we could have an entire thread on experiences from the faculty perspective. I would love to do a project like that. Got into some good combo on a Facebook thread the other day where, I think it was yesterday, we just talked about, how the social dynamics of a class compared to another is still a mystery because, some classes you can't get them to leave, and which I had, and which was a beautiful thing, right? But it's nothing. It's I don't think there's any science to it. It's just the dynamics. And then you have the other classes that aren't obviously as engaged, or it's kind of like pulling teeth a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's good to reflect, though. I mean, it's good to figure out, okay, how do we do this better? And I think that's part to the position that we've been placed in remote learning. And I see it from different points of view as well, like with my kids' teachers and their mode of instruction kind of gets a little flat-ended sometimes because we tend to just, lecture more so, and it's not as effective. But at the same time, what do you do, right? How do you do that? So I'm looking forward to this faculty enrichment. Hopefully we can stir the pot a little bit with our conversations here to hopefully get some motivation to get more training around how do we survive in this environment, right? But still meet our learning outcomes and keep the students engaged. And it's a bear. No, it's not easy.
Yeah.
So to say the least. I was reflecting on the semester, and yesterday I gave the students, I told them towards the end of October, I said, you know what, I want to do more listening than talking. And so after the breakout phenomenon, the breakout rooms got, a little repetitive at times.
Yeah.
You start looking for new things, right? It's kind of like being a DJ. You got to go back into the crates and find the right beat,
Definitely.
So I kind of try to do some of that, and yeah, man, it was working really well for one class, and then my others that meet right after, same content, same plan, just a different outcome. So you kind of had to flow with the personalities in there. But yeah, I was reflecting on that, and the students were too, and they really appreciate it. As a matter of fact, they really do appreciate the breakouts, and especially when we're not in those spaces.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I have no doubt that there's really fun conversations happening. And I think it helps them too, because they have somebody to talk to, especially if they, they're home alone or home with, much younger siblings or nieces or nephews. They like, just talking to somebody that's going through the same thing they're going through. So.
Yeah, that was a thread yesterday. It was like, yeah, this really helped me because I've been here with my parents and family, and yeah, that gets kind of boring.
Yeah.
That's not coming from me, honey. I'm just saying, I love your conversations with me. I have a lot of fun in case you listen to this 10 years from now. That's just putting it out there.
There you go.
So our guest today is Phillip Morales, and I call him Phil. And he's a filmmaker, screenwriter, playwright, and blogger. Phil has made a career in utilizing the written word to create compelling stories through a variety of mediums. So he's a proud graduate of SMU in Dallas and the film school there. He's sharpened his creative production, video production tool sets, a variety of industries that he's worked with, nonprofits. He's currently a production manager in the marketing department of the State Fair of Texas, where he manages email campaigns, video productions, graphic designs, and website content creation. As far as film and TV, early in his college career, Phil had worked as a production assistant on the Emmy Award-winning Dallas Schools television program, Trabajando Juntos Podemos, while attending film school at SMU. And he's written several large screenplays. I actually had a chance to see one of them back in the day, man. It's been a while, but man, he knows how to write these plays, and he's written, directed, produced several short narratives and documentary films. You can find it on YouTube. He has also written several short and feature-length screenplays, some of which have received awards, including his short screenplay titled The Equation, which received a science fiction short screenplay award. And he's got several pieces, including screenplays and short films. He's been used in elementary and high school classroom settings as educational tools and lessons to involve inferencing and video production. So Phil has his own company. He's an entrepreneur as well. He has Orale Pictures with intentions on producing his next short film in 2021. And in theater and live production, he has done several projects with Teco Theater in Dallas, and also has a 2015 production called Oral Fixation, which was lit. I watched that one last night. That one was pretty cool. I had never seen that before. And he does enjoy writing slam, spoken word poetry, and has the opportunity to perform some of it in front of live audiences. As far as journalism, he also has a little bit of background in that with regards to working for Univision Dallas, which is an affiliate channel. He has retained an interest in journalism. He's fostered throughout his career. He's done some work with managing online news and lifestyle content, and co-produced and directed and edited a film series called Torque y Tacos, which sought to combine automobile reviews with taco restaurant discovery, which then turned into a project that he worked with called Mercado Bilingüe, which was a print source which distributed over 60,000 homes in the DFW area. So that was a pretty long one. He's currently doing something called Dad Drivers. It's a website collaboration that focuses on automobile reviews and other dad related content. So Phil is all over the place, but he is to me, he's a big icon in the field of media, especially in the DFW area. So we just gave the probably the best and longest profile and bio of our guest, and we saved the best for the last podcast of the year 2020. And we want to welcome you, Phillip. You and I know each other. My buddy Mark here is a teacher with me in the Mass Comm department in Northwest Vista here in San Antonio. So welcome, Phillip Morales, all the way from Dallas, Texas, man. What's up, brother?
Howdy, folks. How's it going, brother? Good to see you, man. It's good to see you in the midst of all this pandemic stuff. And Mark, it's great to meet you too.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Yeah, that is quite the bio. It's nice to know somebody else that has a lot of a lot of pots going, as we often say.
Right.
We stay busy as creatives,
Right.
doing a little bit of everything.
Well, like all writers, I think I probably put too much in there. I just didn't know, what to leave out, what to put in, just to give people a roundabout kind of view of me. So.
Yeah, that I didn't want to show. I didn't want to sell my family short, because I'm going to be promoting this to all the tias and tios, that might have never listened to my podcast before.
Right.
Even though I probably Facebook it all the time. This is a direct invitation to the familia to listen to this, because this is our legacy right here. I don't take this lightly. I think it's a great project that Mark actually had in his mind, and we said, "Hey, over the summer, let's do it," because he had the idea. Let's make a podcast. Let's do a podcast, and so we're just thankful, Phil, that you're with us. And one of the premises of our podcast that we've discovered along the way is that students oftentimes get the content, they get the instruction, they do the assignments to meet the learning outcomes. But at the end of the day, they still have questions, right? They still wonder, hey, can I really do something with my storytell? Can I really do something with video production? We have a wonderful set of students every semester. And every time that they stay back after class, it's usually not about the lecture or what they discussed. Oftentimes it's about, hey, do you know like how I can get into industry or how I can do film? So we took it upon ourselves to bring in professionals like yourself, man, and just, try to give them some light, So that's kind of what we wanted to do today, man. We want to just talk about, or have you tell us, what were some of the things that, got you started? How did you kind of come about, your creativity, and how did you know, instinctively that you wanted to do something that exercised your creative writing skills, your vision, right? Because I've grown up with you, and every time that I used to go over to spend the night at your house, man, I always see you writing. You just like thinking, bro. And like, right. You have these ideas in your head and you want to shoot a scene. Right. And it was just so inspiring, bro. Like, but how did you actually get to that place where you say, you know what? I need to harness this. I need to do something with this because this is really what is going to make me happy,
Right. Well, first of all, Tim, I just want to say kudos to you and Mark, because I'm actually a fan of the podcast. I've been listening for a couple of episodes too, so it's a pleasure to be on here with you guys, especially after listening to some of the past ones and actually learning myself. I learned stuff that as a professional you think you should always be learning. So I learned some stuff from your previous episodes. So it's definitely an honor. Cool. But to answer your question, like you said, I've always just been into stories, into telling stories any way possible. Like I'm sure you two have. I grew up on movies. I credit my dad for taking me to the movies when I was a kid, and I credit my mom for giving him the time to take me to go to the movies and to experience that. So I knew from a really young age that I wanted to tell stories. But I didn't. To be honest with you, I didn't really know. Up until probably when I was in college in film school, know what I was going to do with that ability to tell stories. As you know, I used to always want to create stuff, even when I was a kid, with my my VCR camcorder, those old dinosaurs you put on your shoulder and run around with. I knew that I wanted to do something like that, but I just didn't know specifically how I was going to venture into the world with that and make a living off of it. Which is why I went to school for film, because I knew that I had a passion for film. I knew that could definitely be an avenue to tell stories in. But it wasn't until I went to school and I majored in film, in creative writing, and in journalism. Journalism and creative writing were my minors, with my major being film. And that really sort of opened my eyes to realizing that you can tell a story. We live in a great time that we're able to tell a story in a lot of different avenues. There's days when I'll have a story in my head, in my mind, and I'm trying to figure out what's the best avenue to tell that story. Is it going to be in the written word? Is it going to be images on film? Is it something that should be a live performance? We're blessed to live in a time where we're able to have various opportunities in order to tell whatever story that we're aiming to tell. So there's I guess to answer your question, there's really there was a lot of things that were influential in me deciding to take a creative avenue for my career. But I think that probably the biggest one was just wanting to tell a story and gaining the skills to really learn how to tell that story effectively. And it took a lot of absorbing a lot of different types of media, but also understanding how to absorb it. Anybody can sit down in front of the TV and watch a movie. That doesn't take any skill, but it takes a little bit of know-how to watch it and simultaneously break it down to see how they constructed it, understanding the story that they're telling, understanding how they told that story. Is it effective? Is it not? I always laugh when people say that, I know my wife especially, she'll always gripe at me and tell me, just enjoy the movie. You don't have to deconstruct it. But what I think is, I think when you get to the level that I try to attain, you can both enjoy a movie and deconstruct it in your head at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think, and you can apply that to all types of media, to a video you see online, to an article you're reading from the New York Times. Whenever you're consuming media, you can be deconstructing it, enjoying it, and analyzing it all at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's something that I learned early on in school, and kind of what drove me to branch out into all the different things that I do. So,
yeah. That's crazy, man. How our wives say the same thing when we're watching.
Right. I'm sure she does. I know Daisy very well, like a sister. And the good thing is, I'm sure she enjoys doing that to a degree as well. So
yeah, visual literacy and media literacy are also, key components to this podcast as well. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's huge when you hear, a professional like you say, breaking something down and being able to enjoy it at the same time. And that could be any form of media. I had a student yesterday tell me, one of the best things that I learned about this class is that I never really took the time to deconstruct a photo or an image, or in our case, it was a cartoon. It was a political cartoon about the vaccine, and, someone luring someone out of an apartment to come and take it, which was a unique exercise. I'll have to share that with y'all. But, that's the essential skill set, I think, that we need to continue to push in our society, especially after, what we've been through. So that's awesome. I'm glad. I'll let Mark take the next question, because I promised myself, and then I'm promising him that I don't want to take over this, because I just want to show some love to my cousin, man. He's in the house.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, and I imagine that it's probably been a while since y'all have seen each other, being that 2020.
It
has,
right? So no, I get that. I guess I lucked out. My wife always looks at me and asks me to explain how they did things. So that's kind of nice. I guess I lucked out. Her curiosity is fun. But I had a professor in college that obviously had a doctorate, and he said his wife hated to go with him to the movies, and my goal was to not be that guy. So I from then on knew I wasn't going to get a doctorate in film. But yeah, so Yeah, which kind of goes into, so we have a nice friendly rivalry going on. I went to the other school, with the what they call it, the I-30 rivalry. So go Frogs. We forever have the iron skillet, because we poured all of our money into our football team. So be that as it may.
And it shows. So yeah,
and it shows. Yeah, no, yeah. No, I don't disagree with you necessarily. Yeah, but so talk about what you do with the state fair. My wife and I and my son went to the state fair. What was that? 2 years ago, I guess, 3 years ago. My parents hadn't been. One of my parents is actually from Dallas, specifically from. Now I'm going to blank on the name, Richardson.
Yeah.
So she had gone to the state fair a lot, but so we really enjoyed our time there. So tell us about your what you do with the state fair and how does it tie into writing and being a creative and all of these different things.
Right. So at the state fair, I'm in the marketing department. I'm a production manager, which is kind of an interesting position because I get to touch a lot of different aspects of the company. I manage our email campaigns. I help out with any of the advertising for each of the fairs each year. I curate content for the website, and of course, I manage the video productions that we do each year. And it's not necessarily that I do all that for the fair. Of course, the State Fair of Texas, our main event every year is, of course, the fair that everybody knows. But the fair has really grown, and we host a variety of events throughout the year that all point back towards our mission. The State Fair of Texas is a nonprofit organization that we promote agriculture in the state of Texas and all those that, and we celebrate the state of Texas, of course, through the fair. So being able to do all those things, email campaigns, video production, content curation, I get to do that year round for a lot of the various initiatives that we do. So it's an interesting job because there's something that every week is a little different. Of course, the majority of my time is spent preparing for the fair. We start preparing for the fair the minute the fair ends that current year. So if we had a fair this year, I'm already kind of neck deep in preparing for next year. But as soon as the fair ends every year, we start preparing for the next one. So there's always something to do there. But it's interesting for me because in everything that I do there, I get to tell a story, whether it's through content that I'm curating for an email, or developing a video to talk about some of the various initiatives that we do throughout the year. One of my favorite things that we get to talk about is that we have an urban farm there that we started back in 2016. We wanted to utilize some of the space there at Fair Park that wasn't being used throughout the year. So we started an urban farm that grows food in a giant greenhouse that we have there, and that food is donated exclusively to organizations within the South Dallas area, which is an area of Dallas that doesn't readily have availability to fresh produce. So I get the fun job of figuring out how to tell that story to a fair goer who may not necessarily know. Most people they go to the fair and they experience the fun that you can have there. They ride the rides, they eat the corny dogs, they go watch the concerts, they go to our auto show. But they may not necessarily know that the money that they're spending there goes to programs like that. I like to joke with people because there's always people that say, I go to the fair every year and I splurge on food, and I feel like a glutton because I just go and I buy all this fried food. I like to tell them, well, you can feel better about it because you're going to the fair, you're buying all this fried food, but that money is then going back into the community to provide fresh produce for somebody else. So somebody else is eating a little healthier because you're eating some fried food.
That's awesome. Yeah. That sounds a lot like our Fiesta event down here. Everybody, especially newbies who come to town, are just like, oh, well, it's just an excuse for people to drink and get crazy. And it's like, well, no, it actually goes back to the community. So. Right.
And I guess to go to answer your question about how that, the job came at a perfect time for me. I've been with the organization for about 5 years now. But I think it came at a perfect time because before that, I had an opportunity to just grow the various skill sets that I have. I think when I first applied for the job, it was mainly a content editing position, but because I was able to produce a video, because I knew a little bit about curating content for a website and maintaining a website on the back end, and because I had a little bit of graphic design experience, I think that sort of allowed me to have an opportunity to have that job and get to mold it to what I specifically am. So now, of course, it's a managerial position for the marketing department because I think I was able to, to bring to the table a lot of those skills that allowed the fair to grow and for us to tell new stories, through the fair. So
that's what's up, man.
That's cool.
So what you're saying, Phil, is you're the boss.
I'm far from the boss, but the great thing about working for a nonprofit like the fair is that which I think is important for your students it's nice to work for a smaller-ish company. We have about 50 employees at the fair, and the job I had before this too was a nonprofit, and it was even smaller than that. But it really allowed me to be able to bring ideas to the table and to really have those ideas really kind of listened to, and I was able to advocate for them and really get to flesh out those ideas in a meaningful way. Whereas there's nothing wrong with working for corporate America and for going that route. But there's something to be said to you working for smaller companies and nonprofits, companies like that, where you can really stretch your creative legs a little bit.
And
that's true at the fair. So yeah,
that's cool, man. Yeah. I've never really thought about it that way. I always thought, like Mark was saying about the Fiesta issue or this celebration we have around the city. A lot of these organizations, these nonprofits, are really involved in raising money for scholarships, for different initiatives around the city. And now I have a better perspective on just what the State Fair of Texas does for the community. So that's great. Right. That's really cool, man.
Nonprofits are a great place for you to get your feet wet. And I've listened to some of your previous podcasts. I know a lot of your guests have kind of have talked about how they had opportunities come up in their careers, and I think that's a great way to, even if you're not working at a nonprofit, just volunteering your time and your talents somewhere can open up a lot of doors and can give you experience and open up doors at the same time, which I think is great, especially for students or people just out of college, or even people just trying to transition to another career. Just kind of volunteering what gives you passion and introducing your skill set to that industry. You never know where that could lead you. So. For sure. Yeah.
Knowledge bombs all day.
Right.
Hey, we have another question for you, man. It's not a job interview, but it's just a casual conversation. Yeah. But so far, it's been amazing for our listeners to know, especially our students, because we create content and in the midst of having to go fully online. We've discovered this platform, right? We've discovered a new way to provide information and knowledge to students. And we've got a lot of great feedback so far from our students. One in particular yesterday was a huge fan of it. And she was, Mark, you had to have heard this, man. I wish you were in the Zoom room. But when she said it, it was like so passionate and so authentic, right? To the extent of I was like, you're going to make me cry.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it was really cool. And so if for the students, right? Because I mean, we can always put ourselves in the shoes of like whenever we were in school, right? You know, accumulating school debt, trying to figure out, you know, I was and for most of us, right? It's like, how am I gonna translate this knowledge into something that's, you know, tangible, like a career, a job that is going to help me fulfill my purpose. But that's kind of where the next question leads us is like, what would you tell our students who are interested in film or media or anything dealing with creative content or creating your own production? What inspired you? And what I guess what I'm trying to ask here is, because a lot of the students think, well, hey, this sounds really cool. I loved the class. I loved learning about the media landscape and the different fields. But I'm not so sure that translates into the job market, right? So what would you tell our students, like who are considering, you know, maybe on the fence, right? About majoring in mass communications or journalism, film, whatever the university program is, right? In such a way that allows them to feel, you know, that they can take a brave step and say, hey, I can see myself, you know, in the job market doing something related to media, whatever it may be.
I've had the opportunity to talk in front of a couple of students before, and I guess what I tell them that I pretty much tell anybody that's sort of looking at their educational career is that everybody is a storyteller, and your students that are already taken the step of going to college have already started to tell their story because they're in because they decided to go to school, because they decided to take your class, because they decided to listen to this podcast. They're telling the story of who they are, where they're going, what they want to do, and so they're already on the right path to be able to apply their skills to a multitude of jobs. I went to school for film, but I knew that at the end of my college career, I knew that I wanted to tell stories, and I realized that there was a variety of ways to tell that story, or to tell those stories that I wanted to tell. So I think when it can be a bit of a challenge when you don't necessarily know where you want to fit into communications or roles. You know, you like this type of environment, you like this type of industry. But I think if you hone the skills of telling a good story, I think that you'll be valuable in any avenue that you take. You can't go wrong, basically, you know. And that requires you to do a lot of reading. It requires you to do a lot of collaborating with people that not only have the same kind of interest or like the same type of media that you do, but people who don't like the same kind of things. I often try to seek people who don't like the same kind of films that I do or music that I like, because I want to learn from them, and being able to take that information and absorb it is not to say that you have to start to like whatever they like, but you can learn skills from those type of people, and I think that's key when you're in school and when you first get out of school and you start to work. I knew a lot of people that were in my film class with you, and Mark, you probably can agree with this too. I knew a lot of people that were in film school with me that are doing totally different things that has nothing to do with film now.
Totally.
But but I like to think that they learned how to tell a story. It may have been a story in the frame of a film, but they're telling a story in whatever they're doing now. Because in reality, that's all work is. Any job you take, you're going to have to you have to sort of sell something, whether or not you're selling an idea, whether or not you're selling a cause or you're selling a product. You have to know how to tell a story. So even if you're not sure of what you want to do, or you're not sure of the risk that you're taking if you're going down a particular path, whether that be TV, radio, or whatever, as long as you learn how to tell a story and learn the components of a story and learn how to tell that story to different audiences, I think you're going to be invaluable in whatever career path you decide to take eventually. So. Yeah, I know it's kind of broad. People say that like learn how to tell a story, and it sounds like really broad, but it's really important, and it has a lot to do with what I said earlier, consuming some media, but also trying to look at it in an analytical way. It could be enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really appreciate that, and I think I think we both try to teach our students kind of it's not on the syllabus, but the extra thing we teach is that they're storytellers and that they have stories. And I kind of wanted to talk about that and sort of switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit about social justice issues. And specifically, this podcast, we talked about those things a few episodes ago. We talked about diversity in the classroom and things like that. And obviously 2020, on top of everything else, has been a new resurgence of social justice and things. And doing some research and some digging, not really digging, but I found some of your work on YouTube. And I found a short documentary you put together quite a few years ago. I think it looked like probably the early days of the Obama administration.
2010.
Right.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. And the documentary is called Streets of Protest. Mm-hmm. And it looks like you really covered what became to be known as the Dreamers. That was coined, I think, around that time. And what ended up becoming DACA. And so I guess, tell us a little bit about that. What are you still doing with those kinds of issues and that the Dreamers and things like that? And how, is that still important to you, and how are you, exploring that?
Sure. It's crazy to think that I started that project back in 2008, and I finished in about 2010, and that we're still kind of going through something similar, in our modern day. It's interesting that you never. It just goes to show you never know what you're going to capture that will have relevance for years to come. But yeah, I'm glad you were able to see that. That was a bit of a passion project for me, and honestly, it was something that I knew that I wanted to participate in that, and it was something that I believed in. But I'm always coming to projects, and it might be because I have a little bit of history in journalism. I'm always coming to those kind of projects, not necessarily how I would look at it, but how someone else would look at it. Even though I could have shown my passion for that cause by going to the march and participating in it. I chose to go with a camera and with a crew and to capture it so that anybody who was just interested in it could see it. That's why I made sure to go. There was a small opposition protest going on. I made sure to go and capture some of that because I wanted to tell all the sides of that story. So it was interesting in that I was able to capture that, and then when it's a combination of two different protests. So the second one, I went at it with a little bit more preparation than I did with the first protest, honestly, and it just turned out that they had a lot of similarities. It's funny that it was during an age where cell phones really hadn't come to the quality that they are now.
Yeah.
So almost anybody with a camera can kind of film something and produce something worthwhile. But it still took some, I guess, a little bit of foresight to know what I was going to capture during that protest and to make something out of it. It's funny because I wrote it's funny you bring that up because I wrote a monologue recently because a lot of the protests that are happening now, I always have the urge to run out with a camera and go and film it. But I'm a father now, I know my wife is always a little apprehensive about that. She's like, we're not young anymore. We can't just go run out and get in potential harm's way or get arrested because you're trying to get a shot. I'm the kind of filmmaker that wants to get into the certain angles where I get a good shot. And even if a police officer tells me to move, I may not move. So she knows how I am. And so she kind of keeps me back from that. And even just that idea of not being able to go out because of the pandemic right now, and because of the fact I'm a father now and I have other responsibilities, not being able to go out to every protest right now that's going on and film it is a strange idea to me. So I had to write something about that and how that made me feel. But luckily I have other ways to kind of fuel that passion. I'm really big into documentaries. I'm hoping to one day to do a lot more. But one of the great things about working at the fair is I get to do smaller things like that. For instance, the first year I was there, I got to do a sort of a mini documentary on an individual in South Dallas that was wrongly incarcerated. Now he's out. He has started a nonprofit for people that were in similar situations. So I got to do a miniature version of that. So I'm blessed in that I'm able to do that for a living and still get to fuel my my desire to film things that are of importance. I love to go see a movie that's a big blockbuster, popcorn, like waste of time. But I also love that film can capture important moments in history and kind of keep it so that future film watchers can really be impacted by it. So.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's amazing. The commentary around that is it reminds me of the work that we do, and sometimes we lose sight of our of the effect, right? The impact that a documentary can have or a written piece can have on policies. Right. And so I think that's one of the most interesting things to stress to future media content providers is that, the work that we do is can be very impactful. So that's awesome, man. Hey, tell us about the documentary. You wrote something about, you have something that you're working on that you want to hopefully release in the next year or so.
Yeah, so that's not necessarily a documentary, but it's it's kind of got a little bit of I'm always drawn from my history, and I have it's more of a narrative type of piece, but I'm drawing from some situations that are current in our time, and it's not quite formulated to the point where I can really talk about that. It would make sense, but I am also trying to. I'm going to be adventurous in the new year, which I think is important for any artist to kind of get outside your comfort zone. I'm going to take my first attempt at writing a graphic novel in 2021. I've never written one. I'm a fan of a lot of them, so I figured that I love to write, so it's a great way to kind of to tell the story. And I'm using, and you'll appreciate this, Tim. It's about female sisters who are impactful to their nieces and nephews, and you can pretty much guess where that comes from. Me and Tim have a lot of influential Diaz and Theos, and they were a really, I think they made an impact in our lives growing up. So I want to tell a story around that.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, for my nieces and nephews, for something for them to enjoy. I mean, because might as well draw from our own experiences, right? And kind of tell stories.
Yeah. I would love to read that, man. And I'll be probably your biggest cheerleader aside from your immediate family, and that's
you always are. If you don't mind me sharing, you've always been a bit of a cheerleader in that you actually performed in some of my early back in the day, like video productions when I was just practicing just to get some practice behind me. Tim was nice enough to just give me a little bit of his time and allow me some actors to stand in for me. So
that's cool.
We'll have to bring that full circle one day and have you in a production again now. So
hey man, sign me up, bro. I've always enjoyed that. For some reason, Joey, my brother, he always, always got the lead role, but I was a little jealous of that.
I think because I think he just I feel like he wanted that role, and I feel like he still can do that role. But now it's going to be you two would get equal billing on the marquee for sure. So
let's do it, bro.
It'd be a different story.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
So another project that you seemingly started and are working on is so there's a website out there, daddriver.com, that upon looking at it, it's what it says, right? It's information for dads about cars with car reviews, and it looks like there's an opportunity for growth with other dad stuff. So my one question as a dad also. So we've got the SUVs, we've got the crossovers. Where's the dad van review? We need the dad van review.
Right.
Swagger van.
It's funny you said that because pretty soon coming up, I'm going to have a chance to review a van for one of the major manufacturers. And that's probably what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to see if I can safely gather some dads and kind of get their opinion on the vehicle. Because I think that the van is one of those vehicles where a lot of dads are going to have to be convinced to ride in one. I don't know if I could drive one or not, but there's some pretty cool vans out there now. Like they've stepped up their game on what they offer now. So it could be something that
put some spinners on it, man. It'd be all right.
Right.
Well, and I say that because my wife and I are kind of in the process of shopping either a minivan or an SUV with a third row, because we don't have a car to transport the whole family, because we live next to, or we not next to, but very close to my parents. And so we don't have a way to transport everybody if we want to do something. Right. So, yeah.
Right. Well, if I do get a van and anytime soon, I'm able to make a road trip out of it, I'll definitely gonna head to San Antonio and get y'all's opinion on something like that for sure. And it's funny that I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a great example for what you guys were asking earlier. I never thought I would do anything like that. I always had a passion for cars and I love cars. Tim, I remember even as a kid, kind of looking at the things that Tim had. I mean, you guys had a sweet Cutlass growing up.
Yeah.
And that's, we've always had passion for cars, but I never thought I was going to do auto reviews. But when the opportunity arose, I took a chance, and I already knew how to write. So I figured, why not apply it to this field? And it took a while. It took me a couple of years before I was able to build up to the point where I would get cars to review. But I kept at it and I kept writing, and now I'm to the point where I get invited across the country to preview cars, and it's an interesting little side gig. And I used to have some kind of a monetary gain from it when I worked in printed publications. But now that I'm doing it on my own, there's no real monetary gain for me, but it's something that I just enjoy doing. It keeps me on my toes on my writing, and it keeps me on my toes as far as like creating content. How am I gonna, this new vehicle I'm gonna review this week, how am I gonna apply it to other dads who are looking for something similar? You know, so am I gonna do a video review? Am I gonna do a written review? So it's been an interesting kind of a side gig to do, and I do it just for fun. But I like the dad angle because there's a lot of things to explore with that. I'm having to learn about car seats and how to hook them in and
yeah,
just,
man,
you know, all the safety stuff. It's a lot. You're all had at this, Tim, but I'm a new dad, and it's still a struggle for me for sure. So
hey man, the day that you can get rid of at least one of those car seats, it's yeah,
the whole new world.
You're gonna love it, bro. It's just gonna get in the car. And even now, like we have one who's still in a booster seat, but it's like when they can buckle themselves, bro.
Right.
Yeah. Saves you a lot of time for sure.
Yeah. Those booster seats are real easy to take in and out and put in grandma's car, and it's the life. It's the life.
Right. I understand now why Honda, I think it's Honda that has a vacuum built into their van, like in the back. Yeah, I understand now why
that's wagon.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, well,
for sure.
but definitely hug her and kiss her while they're young and little. She's precious, man. I see her on social media and you post, and it's wonderful, and then it's gut wrenching at the same time because you just want to reach out and hug them, right? Especially over the last 10 months, man. I was telling Mark earlier that this has been like being on a deserted island. Like, life is great. I don't have to commute. I got my kids with me, but you're not, you don't have your family to enjoy it with. But we'll get back to it, man. And I want to promise you one thing, because I know that we're eventually going to see an end to this whole thing. That you'll be one of the first people on my list to go and see when I go back up there for sure.
And I can't wait for the day. I seriously can't. You have a great family, so I'm definitely I'm missing that.
Yeah, and this has been really cool. Is there anything that you want to share with us, Phil, that you didn't get a chance to, or where can students find you if they want to explore your work and maybe reach out to you at some point? There
is, but if you don't mind, do you mind if I ask you guys a quick question?
Sure.
So I always like to ask people. I'm sure you guys always get the question, what your favorite movie is.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is a little bit of a weird question. Nobody has like a favorite movie. So what I like to ask is what movie are you are each of y'all like a little bit like slightly embarrassed to like? Because I think that says a lot about people. And I don't mind offering up mine first. So
okay.
One movie that I'm a little bit embarrassed to talk about that I like is Clueless. You know, the one with Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. That's a good, awesomely bad movie. Absolutely.
Right. I credit my sister and my cousin Jessica and Christina, my sister, because they love that movie and they'll watch it. And so I kind of got into it. And now anytime it's on cable and I'm passing by, I'll sit there and I'll watch, a couple of minutes of it. But even with that, like it is a great movie. It's a great adaptation of a Jane Austen novel. So there's some good stuff to it. So what do y'all enjoy that maybe you're like slightly embarrassed to enjoy?
I had to think about it first. I'm gonna let Mark answer that because I got to think about that one.
Well, so one for me, I actually have a movie poster hanging in my office, and I don't know. I think there were two camps on this movie, but I feel like the louder camp was the people that hated this movie and tore it up to pieces. But I'm a huge Will Smith fan, and I really loved Collateral Beauty from a couple years back, which was kind of a modern retelling of and like a reimagining of A Christmas Carol, kind of.
Really?
But it got torn to pieces. It's a horrible film. And I was really sad because I'm like, how do you people don't have a heart? Like, how can you hate this movie? But I mean, I guess I get it. But so that's one of mine.
I haven't seen it. I have to watch it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. But it got crapped on. It was bad. I was sad.
It's all subjective, man. It's all.
But that's probably one of my I guess one of my guilty pleasures.
Great. I didn't get to the list. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. I guess I have one that it's way back in the crates, man. But it's funny as I got Showtime free for I think it was like 7 days. I forgot to take it off, so I guess I owe. But don't tell my wife that.
She's not listening.
She's real big about that. She's like, "Are you going to sign up? Make sure you set a reminder." I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And
I had to subscribe to Hallmark this year, so I know all about that. Yeah, for my wife. Yeah. No.
So it ends up on Showtime, and I'm like so excited that it's there. And it's a movie called Rad. It came out in 1986.
Okay.
And it's a total like B-list movie, right? It's I don't even know the names of the actors anymore, but Adrienne from Rocky came on it as the mom. I think that was the only, and she had a very minimal part in the movie. So I ended up trying to show this to my kids like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, made an event about it. Like, hey, on Friday, we're going to watch this movie called Rad. And I had told my brother about it because he and I grew up on this film. And, it's about BMX racing and this cat that's not even in the sport. He ends up, and you guys probably seen it. I don't know why I'm describing it to you, but
I haven't seen
man, it was a total flop in my household, man. My wife hadn't seen it. It was PG, and it threw a couple of incidents where I had to, push mute really quick. I was like, oh, I forgot they said that. Yeah. And my wife's looking at me like, your dad let you watch this? Hey, it was the 80s,
Yeah.
Yeah. The MPAA was very lenient in the 80s.
Right. I remember that. So that was my movie, man. It was, I would sit and watch it again. I probably need to go watch it before my subscription goes away. So.
Right. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, that's good.
We ended up fast forwarding. They're like, that is boring.
That's exactly why I like asking this question, because see, I got like these two movies that I'd never seen before. Most people like movies that mostly other people like, so it's easier to say something that you've already seen. But now I've got two on my list that I want to watch now, and it comes up with some good conversation. So I appreciate y'all answering that for me. I really do.
Yeah.
No problem. No, yeah, thanks.
I still remember Judgment Night at your house. That's a good movie right there.
I still like that movie. And I thought you were gonna say Big Trouble in Little China, because I remember you had that copy of VHS, and we used to watch that a lot at your house too.
You sure did, man. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So thanks for answering that. But to answer your question, Tim, yes, you guys mentioned daddrivers.com. That's where I'm doing a lot of my writing online right now. I'm on Twitter. That's kind of my social media of choice at PM62. All the work that I do for the State Fair of Texas is, you can mostly see it on our YouTube channel. So that's we're on YouTube. If you search State Fair of Texas, we're there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Of course, I'm also on YouTube and Vimeo. If you search for my name, you'll pop up. That's where, hopefully, next time I get to do something, a film production that I can put together, if this pandemic will end soon, that's where I'll put that stuff up. So
nice, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's been amazing to sit and talk with you, and for our students, I'm sure, to hear your story. And we just are really grateful for the ride that we've been on. And this was our last podcast for 2020. And
I'm going out on the last one. I appreciate it.
Yes, right. Yeah, we saved you for the last, and it was definitely a great experience to sit and talk with a media professional, someone who's eclectic, who's so creative. I was, just reflecting on, you have people in your lives that inspire you to reach for more and to expand yourself. And thankfully, you're one of them, bro. You're one of those people in my life. So I appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you inspire me too now, like with this podcast and what you guys do. You guys are doing some really good, important work. If I was a student nowadays and my professors had podcasts like this, I would totally be on that. Your students don't know how lucky they have it. So I hope they appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe in 2021, Tim, we can get some students involved and get them on the shows.
Oh, that would be
it, man.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, because they're the future of. They'll be producing the media when we're old and in nursing homes. They're going to be the ones that are going to produce the media that we watch. So,
absolutely,
I want to see what they got planned.
That's right, bro. Let's keep it going.
Right, exactly.
All right. Well, that calls it a day. That's our show for 2020. For all our listeners out there, happy holidays, better days ahead, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.